You know, I mean, when you do something no one in the history of the league has done, which was the 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, you know, for the comeback, like, it was great. He showed resilience. He showed toughness. Now, look, he did, in fairness, he got a big boost from his defense, which was just great in the second half. Only gave up the 7 points late in the game. And then from his run game, which they ran for 85 yards in the second half.
And a little from the officials.
Well, all that did is give him time to ease into the game. And look, he didn't look rattled to me at the beginning. He wasn't doing much, but he was passing the ball fine when he threw it. He was under a little duress from the pressure from the Bears. But for him to bounce back from that pick six in his home city, on the road, in a huge standalone game on a team that was 14-2 last year and just let this quarterback who was in the MVP discussion go because of you, and you're facing a big-name rookie, the number 1 pick opposite you, for him to do what he did was huge. And so you mentioned, Nick, when we were talking about Caleb, the emotional roller coaster, his demeanor, personality, whatever. That is so big for NFL quarterbacks. Like, that's one of the intangibles. Like, is this guy a leader of men? You know, do guys respect him and all that? And he seems to have that. That's certainly what he showed in this game. And I think his confidence and the team's confidence in him is going to take a huge jump because of this.
Well, listen, we can show you his fourth quarter versus the first 3. It's stark because he was having an awful game. He looked totally out of sorts. The pick 6, it looked like, ended the game. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he was seemingly no threat whatsoever. To go from that to that is stark. It's, you know, almost more impressive than if he was just mediocre the first 3 quarters and then, you know, turned it on. I also think the story within the story is this is why the Minnesota Vikings believed they could move off 14 wins. Because they believe that with that roster they currently have, the coaching they currently have, the situational sharpness, the flip side of the Ben Johnson mistake is KOC had clearly told him, no matter what, take it out. You know what I mean? Cool. Those things sets a floor. And so the floor obviously is not 14 wins, but the floor is higher than most. And so we'll roll the dice on upside and talent without, we don't think that if we're wrong about JJ McCarthy, we're about to be in a barren wasteland the way the Giants or the Jets have found themselves when they have missed on a quarterback, because we like our roster, we love our coaches, we love our scheme, all those things. And so they take a chance on a kid who, it's really interesting, that game was a kind of what people said about him coming out of school, which was not that he would look bad and then look good, but like, can't explain it, but he never loses faith and the kid's a winner. And I typically don't like that type of analysis, but in college, he made the plays when they asked him to make the plays. In the pros, in his first game ever, he looks totally out of his depth until he has to be good, and then was really good and tough and didn't lose confidence. Right. You know what I mean? And so I think you got a glimpse of why people loved him. Some people loved him the way they did. You know, I joked about during the draft process that whenever people talk about JJ McCarthy, they talked about his handshake and what a good kid he was, not about like his throwing motion. But maybe for playing the quarterback position, some of those intangible things play a bigger factor than the numbers suggest, which probably supports, that's a cousin of supporting your guy Jaylin. Seriously.
I know that.
See, that's another nice thing I've said about Kevin Wildes, guys.
JJ versus Michael Penix on Sunday Night Football. Jaylin Carter, currently not suspended for spitting on Dak. He's also not suspended. We're waiting for news from the league office. Might come down today. Brew, do you think Jaylin Carter should be suspended?
I'm going to be honest. Some of this is probably just my personal fandom. No.
I agree.
I want to see him played in this game on Sunday against the Chiefs. But I feel like he didn't play in this game last week, right? Like he didn't play one snap. So that could be viewed as the suspension.
Does it matter to you that the league's official policy is that's not how it's viewed?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think mostly, I agree. But I think mostly, generally, you've played some portion of the game when you're suspended. Yeah. He played none. Look, if the league comes down on him and suspends him for a game, I'm not going to raise my voice in protest because I get it. It's a bad look. You got kids watching. You don't want that. But I don't think he has to be suspended. I think a hefty fine would suffice.
Okay. So just like you were saying, and I agree, it shouldn't play a role. It's not fair that it plays a role that this is a huge game and a Super Bowl rematch or whatever, but it does. Here's another thing that's not fair that it would play a role, but I wonder if it did. The college football player from Florida that spit on a kid this weekend.
You know what? I don't know if it's connected or not.
So
it's not nothing, but it's not.
So Brendan Bett
something.
And he has since apologized, and it was his spit seemed more egregious than Jaylin's, but he's also younger and not a pro. I saw that and I was like, I feel like I don't know how much of a percentage, but his odds of being suspended went up. Luis Suarez, soccer player, spit on a security guy and just got 3 games, but that just happened as well.
Bites people,
right? But that guy's kind of a little crazy. That to me is coincidental. This might also be coincidental, but there's an element of we went since we've been in this studio. Let's just go the last 4 years. We have not had a single college or pro football player of note in the discussion for spitting on a guy. And the fact that he does it Thursday, and then the Florida kid does it Saturday, I do wonder if the NFL almost feels a responsibility to make it clear this is not. Obviously, it's not acceptable, but it is. The penalty is harsh. And so, I think that it is outrageous if people get mad that he's suspended. Right. You know what I mean? I think that a suspension is warranted. I also think that from a logical perspective, I agree with you, even though the rules say that wasn't a suspension, that was an ejection, that was a suspension.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And so I feel like they don't do this in the NFL. I feel like if they said, hey, you have to miss the first quarter. You know what I mean? You have to miss, truly a full, complete game plus. I know that's not even allowed. But you know what? In college football, you can suspend a guy for a half or something. And so I also don't think he will be. But if he is, I honestly believe the Florida kid spitting was one of the reasons why.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people didn't spit. Mm-hmm. So maybe he should be like, most people did not.
Yeah.
If he is going to be suspended, I hope it's the 4th quarter of the game when he's usually sitting down anyways. You know what I'm saying?
That's not going to help your reception in Kansas City.
That's the way it went. Eagles are favored by 1.5. 49ers might be falling apart next on FS1, the Fox Sports Channel, Sirius XM.